Hello and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where you don't want to adjust your screens, although my face might be a different size to usual. We're going to be trying a puzzle today called Gravity by mnasty2. And the reason we're trying this is that we had an email yesterday from none other than Phistomefel eulogising about this puzzle. And if Phistomefel says a puzzle is worth doing on the channel, well, we listen. I found this after Phistomefel recommended it on Logic Masters Germany. It's got a 100% approval rating, but it actually came out in September last year. But I think mnasty2 has only recently worked out how to present it in the software so that it looks as it does here, which is rather cool. And the basic idea is that the bottom has dropped out of our Sudoku grid. That's why it's totally blank. And all of the cages and thermometers have fallen down. Like, you know, they've all been affected by gravity and been squeezed together as far as they can be at the bottom of the grid. And our job is going to be to sort of work out where all these things go and solve the puzzle. Isn't that? I mean, it's some of the innovations in Sudoku rule sets recently have just been incredible. And this one strikes me as being, you know, another that has longevity and could be a real find for the future. Anyway, we'll take a look at this in a minute. I think it's got 4 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so it's probably not terribly easy, but we'll see. What else do I have to tell you about today? Well, let me start with an unusual one. Yesterday I found myself with a bit of spare time, and a lot of you have been asking about more difficult cryptic crosswords, and I thought what I might do, and in fact I did do, is to try and solve a listener crossword using just the power of as much computing power as I could to help me during the solve. So I had a go at a puzzle called Late Arrival by Aragon, which is the pseudonym, I think, of Richard Rogan, who is an absolutely brilliant setter. Anyway, what I did was I allowed myself all computer aids in order to solve that listener crossword. I can tell you the video is still over 3 hours long. It turned out to not be such an easy puzzle. I mean, listener crosswords are never very easy, but it really was quite a challenge. But it was an absolute joy for me because the subject, I'm obviously not going to reveal that in case you want to have a go at the puzzle or watch the video cold, but the theme of the puzzle is something very close to my heart. And Richard, you made this man very, very happy indeed. It is an extraordinary puzzle with some the grid gymnastics are, well, they are something else indeed. So I would it's not going to be for everybody, that video, but if you do enjoy cryptic crossword content, and if you've ever wondered how on earth do people solve the listener puzzle, well, the idea of the video was to show that even an average solver could do it using computer aids. I don't know if I proved that, but it's definitely a bit of fun, and that's going to be a bonus over on Patreon for those of you who support us there. And I apologise that the video is so long, but them's the breaks. Now, I don't know what it is. The birthday, the sort of variations in the number of birthdays recently has been really extreme. So Saturday, I don't think we had any birthdays. Today, I've got several birthdays. So Ashley, you've turned 25 today, and I know this because your partner Nikki wrote to us. And Brennan, who does our outro music, has turned 46 today. Kathy, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your husband Kevin wrote to us, and I understand you have a baby girl due in June. Well, all the best people are Geminis, Kathy, so I wish you all the best with the upcoming arrival. Shell, it could be Shelley actually. I think it's Shell. Shell from your partner Jacob. It's your birthday today. And Jed has turned 43 today. I think it's 43. Jed provided us with a lot of cryptic indications as to his age. I think 43 is correct. Let me know if I'm wrong, Jed. And Stephen, it turned 62 today. Stephen, your email made it sound to me like you're another me in the corner, like as I am. So I hope you're able to have a great day today. And then finally, a lovely announcement to Paul and Marion over there in Austria, who have just had their first child, Vincent, just a couple of days ago. Congratulations, guys. And apparently you're still managing to watch Cracking the Cryptic during an hour of peace that you get in the evening. Well, you're doing well if you're getting even an hour of peace at that stage of young Vincent's life. So congratulations to you both. That is lovely news. And then we're actually up to reading out names of correct solvers of the... Oh, no, the Alice's Adventures in Sudokuland Sudoku hunt, which is our Patreon reward for March. So congratulations to Jonathan J. Harsh, who was first in. So what I do is I read these in the order we've received the correct entries. So these are super speedy people we're reading today. David Barrado, Andrea Pachera, Nicholas Ohl, Jan Gazelius, Josef Kostal, Karanum, Adam Jaziri, Surab Das, Caroline Offert, Leon Zhang, Woo-Sung Jung, Balint Rago, who's always, that name always makes me think of Game of Thrones, Zach Thierman, Nathan Gilbert, Pandora, Anthony Okatsu, and RJ Powers. Congratulations, one and all. That is some stellar solving. And if you want a shout out on the channel, you just have to solve all 12 of that Sudoku Hunt's puzzles by the 10th of March. Now, let's have a look at gravity, and let's look at this new rule set by mnasty2. You're going to love this. You are going to love this. So, all of the clues of a normal 9x9 Sudoku have fallen straight down vertically out of the bottom of the grid, without changing orientation or passing through any other clue. No two clues ever overlapped. Our job is to recreate the original grid and solve the Sudoku. And then, obviously, as far as thermometers are concerned, along thermometers, digits must increase from the bulb end, and in kilocages, digits cannot repeat and must sum to the total given. So there are 3 digits there that sum to 22, and we know there's somewhere. We know this cage is somewhere up here, but we don't know where it lives. Now, there are some examples I snipped out of the Logic Masters Germany page, so let's take a quick look at those. These are in smaller grids. So this puzzle, when the bottom drops out of it, it becomes... Yeah, okay, so the 5 cage here drops as low as it can, but then this 2 is not impeded by anything, so it sort of sits on top of the 5 cage. This 2 always sat on top of the 5 cage, and the 7 cage falls to the bottom. The 4 nests into it, and then this 5 cage falls on top of the 7 cage. It's beautiful. It's such a clever idea, this. It's going to be weird, actually, how the logic works. I don't know whether this is going to be difficult or easy. I'm sort of in 2 minds about that. But yeah, there's another example here with a 6x6 grid, and I can see how things have just fallen out to the bottom. They retain their order, but basically they get squashed up as much as possible. Do have a go at this. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. There's not much point starting up here, is there? We're going to have to start down here, where a 22 cage has got to have a 9 in it. Wherever that lives, 22 in 3 cells is either 589 or 679. 30 in 4 cells. That's got to be 6789. I don't know if this is what I'm meant to do to sort of fill it in at the bottom. An 8 cage has to have a 1 in it. In 3 cells, it's either 125 or 134. Another 8 cage has got to have a 1 in it. Oh, I don't think we can do anything with that. 14 cage here. There must be something going on between the 30 cage and the 14 cage. Is it necessary that the 14 cage is not in the same? So the 14 cage lives somewhere towards the bottom, I suppose, because it's the lowest clue. I'm just wondering if we can say for certain that the 14 cage and the 30 cage can't live in mutual 3x3 boxage. And the answer is they can, can't they? If that was 5-9 and then this was the 30 cage, then we'd have 6-7-8 here, 5-9 here. That would be a 9 and that would work. Oh, bobbins. Okay, so that's not how to approach this. 5 cages on the left have to be different. For what that's worth. Is that worth keeping track of? So all I'm thinking there is there are only 2 ways of making 5 in dominoes. So if that was 1-4, this would have to not be 1-4, then it would have to be 2-3, but then that one would have to be 1-4 again. Right, okay, I have something concrete at last. So let's actually do that. Let me just highlight these. Oh, we're in a funny version of the software today where I have to go back to my old forms of colouring. I don't have my beautiful fluorescent green colour available to me. So, because these 5 cages are different, these 2 are the same. Now, if these 2 are both 1-4 cages, you couldn't make that 6 cage work. It's quite hard to see because this is there's obviously the cursor's smaller today. Or the cursor's probably the same size, but the cages are smaller, so they're obscuring the numbers. But there are 2 ways of making 6 in a domino, 1-5 and 2-4, and neither of those would be possible if we make these yellow cages a 1-4 pair. So they've got to be 2-3 pair. This has got to be a 1-4 pair. Now you can't put 2 in the 6 cage. Wherever the 6 cage is, it cannot have 2 in it. So it must be 1-5. Okay, and now the 10 cage is a 4-6 pair, and that's going to get us, well no, I was about to say it's going to get us digits. It's not going to get us digits, it's going to get us digits in the bottom of the grid. So if we look at this domino now, how do we make a 10 domino? Well, there are 4 options. 1, 9, is that possible? Well no, it's not, because in these 2 columns there are only 2 1s in the Sudoku grid. There's going to be 1 1 in column 1 and 1 1 in column 2. But I know that there's 1 1 in that 6 cage and 1 1 in that 5 cage, so I can't have more 1s in this 10 cage. So this is not 1 9, and it's clearly not 2 8 or 3 7, so it is 4 6. And that, believe it or not, fixes that digit, which means fixes that digit, which fixes that digit, which fixes that digit. So this 13 cage is now either 5 8 or 6 7. Can't be 4 9 anymore. It's very strange. Okay, so we can basically... we can do... the logic is fairly normal vertically. But I guess what we can't do is use it horizontally, because although there is a 6 in that 30 cage... that might not be looking there, might it? Because we don't know where this 10 cage could be, well, it can't be very high up the grid, but it could probably be there. Yeah, it could probably be there. And not see a 30 cage that was down here somewhere. Right, but we've got to... these 1s have got to be kept apart, and the 4s have to be kept apart as well. Right, so I think this is actually absolutely fascinating, because this is totally unlike any logic we've ever done on the channel before. But I am going to claim, perhaps erroneously, that that is a 1-5 pair in the actual blank grid. And the reason I think that must be true is I've got to put a 4-6. This 10 cage has to live in the puzzle somewhere. Now, once we place that 4-6, wherever it goes, this 4 here has to be in a different 3x3 box. It has to be in a higher 3x3 box than this 4-6. That must be true. So this box is either this one or it's this one somewhere. We don't know where. But then we've got exactly the same consideration with these 2 1s. This 1-5 pair must be in a different and a higher 3x3 box than this 4-1 pair. So if we pile those bits of logic on top of each other, we now know that the 1,5 must be in the top box, the 4,1 must be in this box, and the 4,6 must be 4,6, the vertical 4,6. Well, the 4, actually, let's be careful. The 4 of the vertical 4,6 must be in this box. And that means, because there is a 2,3 cage above the 1,5 cage, the 1,5 cage must be there. And I think I've got digits. So this is a 2,3 cage. This is... Well, this is not 5. This is not 5,8 anymore. That's 6,7. These squares are now 4, 8, 9 by actual Sudoku. And we know that the 4, 1 here has to... Well, we know it's in a different... Right, okay, so we don't know much about where this goes, actually. We know the 4 is in one of those 3 squares. The 1 is in one of those 3 squares. So there's a 1 down here. And there's a 4 down here by Sudoku, which we already knew because of the 4, 6 pair. But we don't know whether that could be the 4 and that could be the 6. We just know that the 4 of the 4, 6 pair is down there somewhere. Do we know where the 2, 3 goes? The 2, 3... Well, we don't really, do we? The 2, 3 could be as high up as that. We know it has to sit beneath the 4, 1 cage, but the 4, 1 cage could be there with the 2, 3 beneath it, or the 4, 1 could be there, and the 2, 3 could be right in the bottom corner. We could get a 3 in the corner. But I've got a 14 cage here. How do I do that? I need an 8 or an... Yeah, okay. And this 14 cage is where I want to look now. Let's make that blue. Where does that live in the grid? And I actually know. I don't know what its composition is, but I do know where it lives. And the reason I know where it lives is a 14 cage must have an 8 or a 9 in it. It must do, because you can't put double 7 in it. And the 8 or the 9 in column 3 are in those 3 squares. So can we make that add up to 14? No. Can that add up to 14? No. So it's got to be that one and that one. They must be blue, and this cannot be a 4. So this has become a 5 or a 6. And then somewhere down here we've got a 21 cage. Somewhere down here we've got a thermometer. And the 21 cage, it's sort of this digit of it. I don't know where that goes. It's got to be quite high up, actually. Because it's got to be above this thermometer. If we put that thermometer really low, which we can't, because there's a 1 in one of these squares. Oh, I see. I'm suddenly worried I've broken the puzzle. No. Well, clearly that's not the thermometer we're looking for, is it? Because that would have a 1 on it that wouldn't be in its bulb. That can't... Oh, no, that could be the thermometer, if that's the one. Oh, I see. Or that... No, that can't be the bulb, because if we put the bulb here... Hang on, let's see if we can do this. Can we sort of make... Yeah, we could. Look, there you go. So if that was the thermometer that corresponds with this thermometer, then the 21 cage, which is this one, it has nowhere to live, because it must live between the blue cage and the thermometer in this column. So the bulb... Right, so the bulb is here. Because if we put the bulb here, there's no room for the 21 cage. And if we put it here, there's a 1 on the thermometer that's not in the bulb. That's beautiful. That is such a cool deduction. So that is a thermometer. These are not 1s, therefore. The 1 does go at the bottom of the grid. And this is now the 21, I want to say. I don't see how it cannot be that one. That's the 21. In fact, maybe we could... Can I do some more colouring here to sort of indicate where things live? That would in some way please me. This is a 6-7 cage, so those 2 cages are the same. This is it's so cool, isn't it? Now, all right, this 21 cage, that digit there, right, okay. So, right, where does 2 go in that column? 2 can't be in those squares, because then that would have to be a 1 and that would have to be a 0. And 2 can't live in a 21 cage at all. So 2 goes there, and I think the same is true of 3. 3 can't live in a 21 cage, so it must be the next digit on the thermometer. And now we've got a 1, 2, 3 triple, which means we've got a 2, 3 pair, we've got a 2, 3, 4 pair here, or triple here, and we know that the 4 is higher. So that is now the purple. Which means that's 4, that's 1, these are not 1, these are not 4, this is the 2, 3 pair that corresponds to that, which we are awarding the mantle of yellowness. No, I don't think it's fair to make that yellow as well, is it? That's sort of mislabeling things. And do we now know? Well, okay, by Sudoku then, these digits are 5, 6 and 7, because they can't be 4, 8, 9 or 1, 2, 3, which means these squares are 8, 9. Right, so the 4, 6 pair here, I still don't know where it goes, do I? But I do know it's a domino that's either that domino or that domino, so that cell is definitely a 4 or a 6. And the other digit down here, so there's definitely a 7 in one of those two squares. So these are, right, these are 4, 6 and 7 is the simple deduction, and these are 5, 8 and 9. So, hang on, I don't understand how I can't just fill this in now. What am I missing about this? Take those 4s out, they're annoying me. I know that's got to be higher than 3, but that's automatically true by Sudoku. There's nothing, okay, and there's nothing underneath this bulb, so we don't know anything about that cell. We don't know the 14. The 14 could be anywhere, I think. This 14. Oh, that's the bulb of a thermometer that's got a 2 on it, so that's a 1. Okay, so we get 1s over there. So that's pushing this 8 cage out of the bottom row. Because this 8 cage has a 1 on it, it can't live there anymore, but it could live here if that's a 1. And the 30k. Oh, no, this is simple. Right, that's not a 1, and that's not a 1 because between the bulb here and the orange cage is a 30 cage. So that's a 30 cage, 6, 7, 8, 9, which means that we should colour it. So those two get the same colour. We'll make it grey. So slightly, actually that's a horrible colour. Let's go for red. We'll make them red. Okay, so that means that square is a 4 by Sudoku. And that was one of the digits we were looking for. Look, in here. So that must be the 6. And that are the same. Which we will give, I'll make those grey. I'm running out of good colours in this version of Sudoku Pad. My 1.5 never got coloured in either. That's a mistake. Let's make that one. Oh, I don't know. Actually, maybe I'll go to a different palette. I'll make those dark green. There we go. Right. So now let's go back to the other palette and stare again, because this must be important. That square is a naked single. That's a 5. That square is a naked single. That's a 7. And these two squares are a 1-2 pair by Sudoku. And from that we're going to gather what exactly? We've got to say that... okay. So that's a 9 I want to say now. Because this 14 cage has to live beneath the red cage. So it's either there or it's there. But wherever it lives, it can't be a 6-8. Because if it's a 6-8 14 cage, 6 and 8 would be eliminated from those cells and both have to exist in the 30 string in that cell, making that cell a Schrödinger cell. And it can't simultaneously be 6 and 8 at the same time. So 5 and 9 live in some combination of those in that 2 by 2. That is a 5-9 pair, and 9 is therefore not there, and this is now a 9. This, I can tell you now, this puzzle has legs. Not in the terms of, I mean, this puzzle has a lot of legs. I've only done a third of it, or maybe less than that. But this rule set idea is just gorgeous. It's about as close as you get to Tetris, isn't it, in Sudokuland? Okay. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that... Yeah, okay, the thing I'm really bad at is working out how these things fit together. So this 8 cage now has one of its cells underneath this 30 cage. So it's either looking like that, which is impossible because of the 1s here. There must be a 1 in a 3-cell 8 cage. So in fact, it's that cage and that cage that are identical. And the 1 in this 8 cage must be in its top cell, because these, you can't put 1s in these cells, and it must have a 1 in it. And it's not 2, 5, so it's 3, 4. Which means this is a 2 by Sudoku. So this became 1. This becomes a 3, 4 pair down here. That's become a 9, hasn't it, in terms of the sort of the geometry of this thing at the bottom. We've got a 5, 9 here. Do we now know where that lives? Don't know. Yes, I do actually, because 7 by Sudoku now goes there, look. And that means in this cage, I've not put in 5, 6 or 8, but that 8 that lives down there fixes the 8 there. That gives me a 9 here. So this is not 5, 9 anymore. That is 5, 9, corresponding to this cage down here, which we'll award a different colour again. No, not that one. That one, maybe. No, not that one. Brown. It's not lovely, is it? Let's go to the third palette. That colour green? No. Oh, these decisions. Oh, that's a horrible colour. Sorry. No, I can't. How can I not find a colour? I'll use that colour, a sort of coral colour. Okay, so we've got coral here, coral here. These digits by Sudoku are low. They're 2, 3 and 4. Maybe I wanted to put 2, 3 or 4 there, but no, I've already done this. This thermometer is sort of done. 1, 2, 3, and then that digit, which is 5, 6 or 7. Trying not to sneeze, that would be bad. So this 13 cage now can't have 9 in it, look. So this 13 cage is either 5, 8 or 6, 7. And that lives underneath a 22 cage. So if we put the 22 cage as high as we can, there is a 2-cell 13 cage that occupies 2 of those 4 cells. There's a 1 on the right hand side now of this 8 cage, which could be there. Although I don't know if that works with this thermometer, but let me just have a think about this. So if it's not there, it can't be there because that cell would be a 1 and it would clash. And it can't be there because that cell would be 1 and that would clash. So, oh, and it can't be there because there needs to be a 9 cage on top of the 8 cage. So it is either there or there, I think. Those are the two options for this 8 cage. But one thing I was just thinking about is if it's that one, let me just highlight that one for a moment. If that's the 8 cage, that has to be the 1 in it. But beneath this 8 cage, there's a 3-cell thermometer. I don't see how that can possibly work with a 2 and a 7 the wrong way up here. If that's the bulb, the thermometer doesn't work. And if that's the bulb, the thermometer doesn't work. Right. So this is not where the 8 cage goes. The 8 cage goes there, I think, which makes this a 1. So we'll orangify this. This has to not be a 3-4 gauge. This is a 2-5 gauge. It's so smooth, this as well. That is one of the lovely things I'm noticing, is it's very, very elegant. And it's sort of leading us by the hand, isn't it, in terms of finding out where to look next. Yeah, because now this must be where we look next. It's a 9 gauge that hasn't got a 1, a 2 or a 5 in it, so it's a 3-6 gauge. So those two cages are now the same. Let's put 3-6 in at the bottom as well as the top. We've got another chance for a 3 in the corner. Oh, we didn't get one down there. Did I ever think we were going to? Can't remember. Oh. Okay. Well, anyway, that's got to be a 7. And that's got to be a 6. And that's got to be a 2. And that's got to be a 3 just by Sudoku. 9. 9 lives there by Sudoku using the power of this 9. So 9 is in one of those 3 cells. These squares are known. They're 4, 7 and 8. That's not 7. That's a 3 therefore. So 3 and 4 go in the grid. That square's not 8 anymore. 5 or 6. 6 or 8. And bobbins 5, 6 or 8, I think. Right, but what do we now know? We've got to put a thermometer in this column somewhere. And we know its bulb is not here and it's not here. So it's either here, here or here. Now if it's here, that would be high. But when I say high, that could actually be 2, 3, 4 or something like that. Oh, and if the bulb's there, then it would just go to a natural 9. So I don't know. I don't know where this is, I don't think. I know, hang on, I know some of this 8 cage. I know that's 1, 2, 5. 5 here, 2 here. So 2 lives in one of those 3 squares. 2 lives in one of those 3 squares. 1 lives in one of those 3 squares as well. That 1 doesn't live in that square. Um, 9 here means that square's become an 8. So that's a 6 by the power of 14-ness. These 2 squares are now 5 and 7. What's this one part of? This is part of the 21 cage. So if that's a 5, those two are a 7, 9 pair. Because they've got to add up to 16. If that's 5, that's 7, 9. So we get double 7 here. 7 in fact in that square. I don't think that works. I'm not sure I can then. I don't think I can put a 9 anywhere in this row. But that's a bit. It's a little bit complicated. That. So what I was thinking was, if that's 5, that becomes 7, 9. So the 9 in this row now, actually, yes, okay. Well, it is foreseeable. If that's 5, because that becomes 7, 9, the 9 in row 4 has to be there just by Sudoku. If we just look at the 9s and the fact there would be a 9 in here, it's there. But because this involves a 7, and this has become a 7, if we make this a 5, you get 7 here, 7 here, and now I've got the same cell. This has to be a Schrödinger cell. It has to be 7 and 9 simultaneously. So I think that's quite tricky, but and it's a sort of step above anything we've done so far. So I'm just a bit hesitant about doing that. I mean, I think it's fair, isn't it? I suspect there's something much easier though. Let me just give it a moment, and then I'll use that if I get stuck. I'm just always conscious that if I can, I should show these puzzles as the constructor intended. And it's possible that that was an intended step, but it just felt to me, it felt out of kilter a bit with some of the other deductions that we've found. Where's this 22 cage? In fact, maybe a better question is, what is the nature of that 22 cage? If that's 5, 8, 9, this would be 6, 7. That would be 8. Can't disprove that. What about if that's 9, 6, 7? If that's 6, 7, 9, what would this be then? 6, 7. Well, that's interesting. If that's 5, 6, 7, that cannot be 6, 7. Because if it was, those 5 cells would contain 4 of the 4 digits that were either 6 or 7. So those 5 cells would contain 2 6s and 2 7s. But that means that's all the 6s and 7s for these 2 columns. And those 2 squares would both have to be 8. So if this is 6, 7, 9, that's 5, 8. And if this is 5, 8, 9, this is 6, 7. So this still very much has both options available to it. And it sort of takes the opposite parity or opposite polarity or opposite constituents to whatever goes in the 22 cage. 22 cage has to have a 9 in it. And it has to live somewhere fairly high up the grid. It's got to, at least its top cell has to... hang on. Okay, so let's jam in the 13 cage as low as we can, which would be there. So now the 22 cage at an absolute minimum would be there. And that would, if that was true, it couldn't be 5, 8, 9. Well, okay, I've got a different reason that doesn't work. Okay, the reason that doesn't work is where this 22 cage lives. So that, right, okay, there are 3 options for this 22 cage. Let's actually just trace them into the grid. One is there. I don't know actually if this will work. I was just thinking, could I paint that? Oh, could I paint that one in as well? That's another one, and that's a third one. So those are the 3 variations for this 22 cage. And we don't at the moment know which is possible. However, I can rule out for you this one. Because if that is the 22 cage, then we've got to put a thermometer underneath it, but above this 30 cage. And that thermometer would go there, and there's a 1 on its tip here in one of those 2 positions. So this would have to be a negative number, and that won't work. So I think we can say this green one is not correct, which means, well, it means there's a 9 in box 2 in one of those 3 squares. Because by Sudoku we couldn't put the 9 here. So this cell is definitely not a 2, because it is definitely in the 22 cage. Whether the 22 cage is like that or like that, that cell's in it. So that square is a 7, 8 or 9 then, because the only 2 ways of making 22 are 5, 8, 9 and 6, 7, 9. So if this top one is the 22 cage, that digit is a 5 or a 6, because there must be a 5 or a 6 in a 22 cage, and it would be that one. Oh, well. So that's not a 9. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so where is the 9 in the 22 cage? And the weird thing is, I don't know. I don't even know at this point where the 22 cage lives. It could be either the pink version or the red version. But if it's the pink version, that is a 9. And if it's the red version, that top square must be the 5 or the 6. So the 9 is still in row 2. So that is never 9. And the 9 is here, which means that's a 9. And it means that's a 4. And it means that's not a 4. You rotten thing. You rotten thing. Okay, that still doesn't seem to do anything. Come on, hang on. I'm sure that there's going to be a little bit of cleverness. It might be to do with... I can still see that thermometer looks awkward to me. I'm just thinking about this thermometer. Is that a valid question? Where is this thermometer? I've worked out it's not there. It must live below the 22 cage, so even if the 22 cage is really high. So it's either there or there. Now if it's there, surely a 1 or a 2 interferes with it. Ah, this is it. It's simple. It's simples. Yes, that is not a possible orientation of this rather beautiful 4-cell thermometer. And that is because, how would we stop this thermometer having a 1 or a 2 in one of those squares? There's no way of doing it, because this would have to be a 1 and a 2 simultaneously for that to be the case. I mean, there are no such things as Schrödinger cells. So the 1 or the 2 have to be on the thermometer, but even if we put the 2 there, 1, that's going to be a 0. It just doesn't work. So this cannot be the thermometer. So the thermometer can't go there, it can't go here, and its only remaining point is there. That is the thermometer, which means that we can't be having this 22 cage, which is clearly above the thermometer, and that must be at the top there. So this is the 22 cage. That's a 5 or a 6 at the top. That's become a 1 by Sudoku. So this square is, so the 2 now has to be there. So that's not a 2. This square is a 7, 8 or a 9. Okay. That square is not a 7. Because if that was a 7, that would need to be an 8 or a 9 on the thermometer. So that square's a 4, which means that's an 8. That's a 7. Here we go. Here we go. We've now got 8, 9. So it's a 5, 8, 9. 5, 9 down here. 9, 8 up here. And we've done this. And the good thing about this... the good thing about this is I didn't need to use anything too clever around here to pinpoint the... Well, to eliminate, what was it I was going to be able to do? Eliminate 5 from this square. Yeah, and actually I'm pleased about that, because I feel, I may be wrong, but I feel that this is what we did up here with the thermo it was more just, it felt more in keeping with the rest of the puzzle. That's got to be a 3, because it can't be a 1 or a 2, but must be lower than 4. So this is a 1 or a 2, and it can't be a 1. So that thermo goes 2, 3, 4. This digit is not a 2 anymore. So that's become a 1, 2 pair. This is just gorgeous. This square is a 5 or a 6. It's not a 5 because of that. So that's a 6, that's an 8, and that's a 5. And okay. So now that's a 2 in the bottom row, because in fact that's a 4, that's a 3. So what's going on in this box? 4, 6, 7. So that's a 4. This is a 6, 7 pair. Ah, I know what that's for. Oh no, I don't. I was just thinking that's ruling out No. Okay. Whoa. I thought I'd broken it. I thought I'd broken it then, because I was about to say I thought this 6-7 was going to rule out a 6-7 domino in this column for my 13 cage, which I've not put in yet. But then I saw that 5, and I was like, hang on. If I can't put 5, 8, or 6, 7 in the 13 cage, I've broken the puzzle. But it must be a 6-7 pair now, mustn't it? This 5 cannot be part of the 13 cage, and that 9 cannot be part of it. So it is a 6-7 pair, and that cell is therefore actually in the 13 cage with this square. So in fact we know the order now. So it's got to be 7 there, 6 there. This is that. This and that are the same. That square is therefore a 7. That's not a 7. That's not a 7. So this is a 7. That's an 8 by Sudoku. That's a 6. Now, so we've done... Right, what have we done? That one is that one. Let's give that red. We'll make that red just so that I can sort of have consistency with cages. I feel like we must be very close to finishing this now, actually. That might be false hope, but that's a 3-4 pair. This is a 1-6 pair, I think. So these digits are known, aren't they? Oh, and this is going to sort this out. So this is from 5, 8, and 9. With that not being able to be 5. Right. Oh, that's beautiful. Right. So there's now this is much prettier. This is much prettier than them noticing that was going to be a Schrödinger 7 or 9. Because now I've forced 5 into this sum. So that can't be a 5. So that's a 7. I hope that's the way round. We proved it before. This is now adding up to 14 involving a 5. So it's got to be a 5-9 pair, which makes this an 8. So now 9, look, can't go there. It would be a third 9 in these two rows. So 9 we can place, and we need to put 3 into that square, which gives me the 3 and the 6 at the top. That 5 does the 5, that does the 9, that does the 9 and the 8. 8 by Sudoku goes here. What do I need? I need 4, 6 and 7. That's a 4. That's a 7, that's a 6, that's a 6, that's a 1, that's a 1, that's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 3, that's a 4. Bingo! There we go! Absolutely brilliant. Now, let's see if we can... have we used all the clues? Oh, I tell you what I haven't done. I haven't done that thermometer. This would be embarrassing. In fact, I didn't need... Did I need that thermometer? I'm not sure I did. Oh yes, I did. No, I did. This thermometer was crucial, wasn't it? Because it stopped that being an 8 cage. Because I couldn't make those. No, that thermometer definitely played a part. And now you can see it's there. Look, that is definitely, I think, where this thermometer lives. I need a 3-cell thermometer that's all ascending. I think it's got to be there in column 9. Right, let's check the rest of it. We've got the 22 cage, we've got the 13 cage, we've got that thermometer, we've got this cage, this cage, this cage. That became a 1, 2, 3, 5. That we've got in. I think we were fairly confident about the left-hand side. That is just an absolutely brilliant puzzle. Yes. Thank you for fixing it. Oh, I see, because we had to recreate the original grid. So I've fixed the original grid. That is the original Sudoku for gravity by mnasty2. mnasty2, who I think did a puzzle that was like a little arithmetic test. It was a very distinctive grid. Very popular Sudoku. Well, that mnasty2, that is going to be a very popular Sudoku as well. That is absolutely stellar. And I am well, am I 100% sure? I'm fairly close to 100% sure that will not be the last puzzle we see on Cracking the Cryptic with that rule set. It is absolutely brilliant. What an innovation, and what an execution of the innovation. And thank you to the great Phistomefel for pointing us in the direction of this puzzle. That was a lot of fun and spectacularly clever. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.